Yeah, so right now, Erin is basically located around 435 miles east of Vero Beach. It is gaining latitude and, well, it's made that northerly turn, right? So it is moving farther away from the Bahamas, but in a sense closer to the mid-Atlantic. It's not going to make landfall there, but certainly those impacts that extend out of Erin are going to be huge along the coast, especially for the Outer Banks. So it is still Cat 2, so the maximum sustained winds have remained at 100 miles per hour. We do the swells increasing, and also for us here at home. Let's take a look at this forecast cone. So making its closest approach to the Carolinas, to the mid-Atlantic by tomorrow. So tomorrow and maybe early Friday, they're going to be dealing with the highest swells, surf along the shoreline and also the Outer Banks with storm surge warnings. In the blues that you see there now, basically Chesapeake Bay, part of it is now under a tropical storm warning. It includes down into the Outer Banks, up through southern Jersey shoreline there. So some of our areas in the United States under these watches and warnings, even though they're not getting a direct impact. Bermuda's under a tropical storm watch. Here's a look at our alerts for here locally. We're going to talk about this up next. Gradually yesterday, but it's more so today. Later today, we're going to see the highest waves, and so that's why the high surf advisory has now been put into effect. So it's still building, but peaking between 5 to 8 feet. This is all along our coastal areas. High rip current risk, of course, and that actually might last even into the weekend. This is a look at the forecast wave height. So later on today is when they start to peak closer to that 8-foot range, breaking along the Treasure Coast shoreline there. For Palm Beach County is a little lower, is between 5 to 7 feet. Notice offshore, obviously you're talking about higher seas. They're building today in the Treasure Coast 8 to 10 feet. Now by tomorrow, late tomorrow night into Friday, starts to really improve those seas out there. And then by Sunday, back down to at least around 2 to 3 feet. So it does improve as we get into the weekend. I'll have more on our local forecast. I will say this, grab the rain gear before you head out the door. For Palm Beach County, I mean, the humidity is still going to rise as we go into the afternoon. And when it rains, that's when it's really going to feel muggy. So it will rain today. We could even have some showers in just a few minutes. I'll get to the radar in a second. This is the 5 a.m. advisory. Hurricane Erin is packing a maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour. So it's still Cat 2, but it does look healthier on satellite. So eventually it's going to re-strengthen into a Category 3, although the latest forecast cone it looks like it did take off the Category 3 status. But either way, I think it could increase at least the winds very close to a Cat 3 by later tomorrow, making its closest approach essentially to the mid-Atlantic. And then there is Bermuda. So it never makes landfall, but the impacts, as you know, they spread out, especially with those large swells hitting the coast. So Outer Banks, much of the Carolina coast there, up through Chesapeake Bay. Then you got the offshore waters there up through right along the shore there in southern Jersey. You got those tropical storm watches and warnings. It is a warning for the Outer Banks, where there's also a storm surge warning. Now, roughly 435 miles, the center is located just east of Vero Beach. So it's far away from us, but notice the flow changing out of the north and then eventually later this morning out of the northwest. So with that said, we got moisture getting picked up with that flow out of the Atlantic. There's some showers just edging the barrier islands in southern southeastern Brevard County. Once these showers start to make their way more south, they could clip Sebastian Inlet. So we'll be watching for that, and especially during the afternoon, that flow out of the west-northwest is going to guide thunderstorms that develop quickly towards the east areas. Inland spots, you'll still get thunderstorms too. So just carry the rain gear just in case. We could have a couple of rounds throughout the day. It's not going to be a complete washout. Therefore, we're still heating things up. That heat advisory in place for Palm Beach County and further south. We got temperatures right now mainly in the upper 70s. And then this is right here. The current feels like temperature, which is actually feeling like the low 80s already out there. So once the sun is up, we're going to start feeling that triple digit. It's gaining latitude, but as it gains latitude, it's moving farther away from the Bahamas. The Bahamas essentially was acting as a barrier to us, so we weren't seeing those the surf as high yet yesterday, but today is certainly increasing. So we're under some alerts out there. Let's first talk about the stats and the cone. So it's a Category 2, maximum sustained winds at 100 reach these areas, even though Erin is technically still pretty far away. But of course, those impacts are going to increase, and there are in fact tropical storm watches and warnings and storm surge warnings specifically for the Outer Banks, Chesapeake Bay. Now, the Outer Banks really bank out offshore, so yes, they're going to be dealing with very high seas there. For us, we have a high surf advisory building 5 to 8 feet. High risk of rip currents, and along also small craft advisory, seas around 6 to 9 feet. I'll take a closer look at those local impacts, but let's 30 miles to the east. Southeast, basically. I mean, I would say almost still east, but anyway, yeah, 440 miles east of Vero Beach, the center of Erin. That's where it is, and it is moving northward, getting farther away from the Bahamas. So now we're going to start to see those larger swells hit the coast, and therefore we're going to have that high surf, which we're under a high surf advisory today. Not a day to be out on the water. Now, there you notice some showers offshore. They're riding along this northerly flow essentially as that flow wraps around Erin. Well, eventually later this morning and afternoon, the flow will be out of the northwest. We'll get showers and thunderstorms targeting the east areas. More storms tomorrow. We'll take a look at that 7-day forecast as rain chances go up.
Okay, thanks, Jen.